Hi everyone, I'm Josh, and this is Josh Wright Piano TV. I got a video request from Jean, who had asked if I could explain a bit about my background and how I got where I am today, how many hours I practiced on average. So here's a little bit about my background. My mom taught piano in our basement when I was young. She did a little bit of college for piano and actually had to drop out because of a sickness that she got very serious, but she did recover, which is good. And I started like tinkering around on the piano probably when I was 4 or 4.5, and she taught me the names of the notes. And immediately she asked me, "Go stand in the corner, and I'm gonna play these notes and name them back for me without looking." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought she did that with all of her students, and it turned out I could do it. So she's like, "Wow, you've got perfect pitch. This is so cool." And that meant nothing to me as a 4.5-year-old. I was just like, okay, cool. I just want to bang on the piano. But shortly thereafter, I took a few lessons with my mom. And then, of course, I knew everything that she knew at 4.5, because every little kid is like that. And so I had to go to a different teacher who would actually discipline me. And so I went to my grandma for about 5 years. She was a wonderful teacher. Really teaches the basics extremely well. Like, she teaches all of her students to be very good note readers. She teaches the basics of technique very well, and teaches a wonderful love of music and passion for it. So I was very lucky to study with her from about age 5 to 9 or 9.5. And during that time, when I was 5 and 6, I was doing about a half hour a day. And then I think when I was 7 or somewhere in there, maybe a year or two after I started, I went up to about 45 minutes or an hour a day. And then when I went to my current teacher, or not my current teacher, but the teacher I studied with for like 15 years, Susan Duhlmeyer, she took me on when I was about 9.5. She said, "I need you to be doing at least 2 hours a day." And then she upped it to 2.5 hours shortly thereafter. Because she said, "What are your goals with piano?" I said, "I want to play with the symphony." That was actually the catalyst of switching teachers from my grandma to her. I saw one of the five Browns, I think it was Ryan, he played with the Utah Symphony, and I said, "I want to do that." And my parents said, "Oh, okay." And they knew I had talent, but I mean, to play with the symphony as a little kid is pretty tough. It does take a lot of skill, the right teacher, and a fair bit of luck too, because you audition for these competitions. If you win the competition, you get to audition, and 50 people audition, they can only choose 6. And I was lucky enough to be one of those 6. Like 2 years later, when I was 12, I played with the Utah Symphony. It was huge. And so I did about 2.5 hours a day with Susan Duhlmeyer for the next 7 years or so, until I was like 16. And then I tried to up it. I was consistent with my 2.5 a day forever, and then on many days I tried to do more like 4 hours a day. But I was also going to a pretty intense high school, lots of like AP classes, honors classes, things like that. And I also loved golfing and skiing. So I was on the ski team during the winter, and then the golf team. I think it was the spring that we did golf team. So I felt always like it was important to stay well-rounded. Sometimes I wish I had done a little less golf and skiing and done a little more practicing, learned more repertoire. But it was good. It was a good life, good childhood. And I actually served a 2-year church mission from age 19 to 21. And then I came back. And actually, before that, I did early admissions to the University of Utah. I went to high school 2 days a week. And I did 1 class a day because I had enough credits, because the high school that I went to was really intense. I actually had enough credits by the end of my junior year to only need 2 more classes. And so I was doing full-time college at the university while I was finishing the last year of my high school, just with those 2 little classes. Actually, it was 2 classes, period. It was 1 class every other day for the full year. I was like, this is the biggest waste of time. I know what I want to do, but my mom's like, my son will not be a high school dropout. So anyway, I did that. I finished it to appease my mom, and I did my first year at the university, and then I did summer courses, and I actually did those with my future wife, Lindsay, who we got married when I was like 22. We got married very young, but we spent years together, starting at age 16 or 17 when I started going up to the college, and And we did summer courses and about killed ourselves doing those. We took 5 really intense, because the summer course is crammed into like 2 months, and we took 5, and so we finished all of our generals. And then I loaded up with more courses the following semester before I left on that church mission. So when I got back, I had like 5 classes left of my bachelor's, and performing was never an issue for me. And so I said, oh, I don't want to leave the University of Utah yet. I want at least another year with my teacher. I wonder if I could do the first year of my master's combined with the year of my bachelor's, last year of my bachelor's. And so she's like, yeah, you can do that. Because most people, the tough thing is preparing recitals. That was the thing I was good at. And so, because I'd competed a lot before that, so I had a lot of repertoire built up that I could use for these recitals. So I combined the last year of bachelor's, first year of master's, and then I did one more year of master's after that. So I was actually able to finish my college bachelor's and master's in 4 years, or 9 semesters total, counting that summer semester. And then I took a year off while my wife was finishing her doctoral coursework. She was a little ahead of me in school. She's a little bit older. And then she was finishing her doctoral coursework. I waited for a year while she did that. And I was just a teaching assistant up at the university. I was I think taking like a class or 2 for fun, doing a lot of accompanying teaching up there, doing a lot of private studies. And that's about the time that I started Josh Wright Piano TV on YouTube. You can go back to those super old videos and be like, wow, you've changed a lot. Your hair was crazy and your video camera sucked. But anyway, got a nicer video camera now after all these years. So after that, I auditioned at 5 schools: Michigan, Peabody, Juilliard, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. And Cleveland was originally my first choice with Babayan, but he didn't have room in his studio. And then I was like, I don't want to live in Cleveland anyway. And I said, maybe I'll go to Peabody. And the Peabody teacher says, trust me, you don't want to live in Baltimore. And I still really wanted to go to Michigan. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll try Michigan. My Michigan teacher was so awesome. Logan Skelton. I recently did a video about him. I love him to death, and it could not have been a better choice. Like, I do feel like, there was a lot leading me to Michigan, and it was just the most positive experience. So I did that. That was 2012 to 2015 that I went to Michigan doing doctoral studies. It's about 2 years of coursework, and then your 3rd year is just finishing up your recitals and doing some teaching assistant work, along with 2 very, very, very difficult oral exams. Like, they just about kill you. One's at the beginning of the year, one's at the end, and I studied for many hours, hundreds of hours for those. So it was not an easy 3rd year. It sounds easy. And then ever since then, I moved back to Utah. I'm an adjunct faculty member at the University of Utah. I was adjunct at Snow College for a year. It was about 2 hours south of here. The drive just got too intense for me. So I'm now teaching adjunct to University of Utah. Teaching quite a bit on Skype, and then teaching a handful of students here in Utah, along with my performing schedule and creating these online video courses. So that's a little bit about my background, Gene. I hope that's informative for each of you guys. During my studies, I would always shoot for about 3 or 4 hours a day. I feel like if you do 3 or 4 hours a day, you're going to get a lot accomplished. These people that are doing 8 or 9 hours a day certainly play more perfectly than I do, and I'm the first to admit that. I know that my technique is not as perfect as those guys, but I also have had many things that I've enjoyed in my life. I would not trade being married to my wife or having my baby girl to be a little bit better at piano. So, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with practicing 8 or 9 hours a day. I just personally don't have the interest in doing that, except before big performances. I still do that, but I don't do that every day. It's too tiring for me personally. I found that 3 or 4 hours a day is a really good regimen on average when I'm preparing for concerts and things, and then maybe a couple weeks before the concert I'll up that to like 6 hours a day. So I know probably each of you are asking about how much I practice throughout my life, so I wanted to include that little disclaimer at the end. But yeah, anyway, if you have enjoyed this video or want to see other videos on technique, musicality, anything like that, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for joining me today. You'll see a subscribe button up here. You can view all of my video lessons down here, or you can keep watching more videos over here. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.